Today, we're going to be talking about the knowledge paradox.
It's the idea of the paradox of knowledge, which means if you spend all your time in life learning, you'll never have time to actually execute. So there's a balance here. It speaks scores to how the ideal way to acquire knowledge is, which is to be efficient, to acquire knowledge, and then to be able to apply it. And this is the fundamental reason why learning has to be active and not passive.
I know Kung Fu.
Yes!
Show me.
Because if you're passive, you're not saving the world in this scenario. In fact, nothing is happening. So if you are being passive, what are you really being at the end of the day? You're being selfish, right? You're not able to help the world right away. Now, bringing that back to the sales world, if you have all this sales learning that you're doing and you're not applying it to your daily schedule of what you're doing, right? If you learn something wonderful about prospecting, you take like a 3-month course on how to do prospecting. Well, guess what you're doing the next day? If you're not applying it, you're not applying it to your prospecting and you're not really making that dent in what you're trying to do. You need to learn and apply it daily, right?
And that's exactly what this topic is about. It's about the paradox. So here it is right here. If you look at the paradox here, you'll notice on this side it's knowledge, and on this side it's execution. And the reality is that the more you execute, the less time you will have to gain knowledge, and then vice versa. So think about this for a second. If you have all the time in the world to gain knowledge and to grow that long beard and to be in the library, you're not going to have a lot of time to actually execute and to apply it. Whereas on the other side, if you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at the age of 16 and you run onto the battlefield without any knowledge, chances are we know where you're going to end up. So the idea here is finding balance of knowledge and execution.
In this scenario, in sales and business, you're just not going to succeed. You've got to start learning how to walk and walk while you're doing it. That's the key. You've got to do that. One of the most important topics within this paradox is learners versus leaders, because initially we all start out on the learning road, right? The learning highway. We're all out there. We're going in the same direction. And then at some point, that road forks.
Yes.
So either you're staying on the learning road or you're getting off on almost the exit off ramp to becoming a leader.
There's an old proverb, a master is a servant in disguise. A leader is a server in disguise. And that can't be more true. That's what leadership is. It's about removing roadblocks from people, from your team members. And if you think about what a leader is, it's a learner that has decided to apply their knowledge, their information to help people. Sometimes it's their team and sometimes it's their clients. Ideally, it's both.
And with both, and in particular, you want to have purpose, right? If you don't have purpose, then what's the point of anything? That's what drives you at the end of the day. You need to have purpose. But when you have that purpose, what comes with that? A great responsibility.
Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
The key here is, before he said that quote that everyone knows, what's the first word he said? Remember. Once you have that responsibility, sometimes it's like we're walking down the road, we're doing our thing, we forget, wait a minute, why am I walking this direction? Where am I going? So in sales, you need to constantly remind yourself, I have this responsibility to lead with value, to think about the other person, right?
There are so many sales books, unfortunately, that have become so antiquated because they're about manipulation and changing people's behavior and over-negotiating and grinding and pulling and pushing with people. And the reality is that as a sales leader, we have a duty to do good. You know, Google says it best, don't be evil, right? With knowledge comes power, but with power comes responsibility. So this is a little bit of a public service announcement where the more you gain, the more knowledge you acquire, the more responsible you have to be about doing good.
And you want to apply it, right? This is the whole thing. We talked about the paradox. You want to apply it because you know what? If you are learning this stuff and you're not applying it, you're spinning around in a circle. And
well, you said it best. You're selfish.
Well, you're selfish, but you're selfishly spinning. Okay, so that's the point. So the point is apply. Otherwise, you're going right back into the paradox.
So chances are, if you've spent a lot of your time reading books, you've probably felt like you've been going in that cycle where you're just continually learning and learning and learning and not actually applying. And there's a solution for that. But the problem is this. Historically speaking, education has been sold in weight. It's been purchased in weight. When you think about a book, when you think about a seminar, when you think about a course, it all comes down to how heavy is it? How long is it? Is it multiple days? Is it multiple months? Because that is how, economically speaking, things were valued. The reality now is that information is so accessible. We can get it so simply on YouTube. So we don't need to do that cycle of learning anymore. Now we can learn and apply, learn and apply, learn and apply.
And you can learn and apply at a greater speed today.
And this is why we always recommend to read the summary first, to watch the preview, to watch the book summary, to watch the video version, watch the TED Talk. before you actually read the book, because then you can start to say, can I apply this knowledge to my actual real life to solve the problems that I'm looking to solve? And most importantly, can I be reading that book, put it down after chapter 1 and say, I'm going to apply what I just learned? Because that's everything.
And how many times have you heard the phrase, hey, you got to read this book.
Yeah.
Ruben, you got to read this book.
Right. Yeah.
So within that, what does that have to do with interest? Just because it's your interest doesn't mean it's someone else's, right?
Imagine someone coming up to you and saying, hey, listen, you got to read this book. I just read it. I loved it. Now, if I'm really into cooking and Rob is not, and I say, you got to check out this cookbook, should he actually go and read that cookbook? I think one of the most important things that we should do is to figure out what problems are we trying to solve? Like, what are our actual challenges? And then go find the referral on the book that we should read. Not just take the referral on that great book that your friend just read, because it might not be relevant for you.
Right. And when you have that book list, what does it become? It also becomes that dusty shelf of like, you have this large, huge list. Number one, are you making any progress in that list? And again, it's back to, are you applying as you're reading and learning? That is so important. The solution is shorten your list and make it functionable. A lot of times that can be like, well, I want to learn the whole thing. But hacks in a way, when you think about it, are very smart ways to get to the information you need right away. Because in the world we live in today, we're so busy. We talk about it all the time, breaking through the noise, right? That's something we're big here at Dubb on. Keep that in mind. A hack or realizing that you need to get to the answer quickly to apply it in what you're doing is not a bad thing. So the thing to remember here is books are sold in weight, W-E-I-G-H-T, but they're paid for in weight, W-A-I-T. That's important to remember.
So the paradigm shift with knowledge, it goes from gaining knowledge from a status perspective, from a social class perspective, to a tactical perspective. I need to gain knowledge today so that I can apply it tomorrow. Not, I need to read this book so that I can be more scholarly while my beard grows. Now we need information and application overnight.
As a sales leader, in that old model, you're not going to sit in your office and say, I'm going to keep all this information to myself and not pass this on to my team. You're not trying to keep a wall between you and your team. You're trying to help them grow and help the company grow, right? So from a sales perspective, you've got to have that connection. You've got to share that information. There's no class warfare going on with your sales teams.
Information is accessible and it's applicable. And this is the premise of praxis. So when we gain knowledge for sales mastery, it is so important to think about praxis, which is the practical application of knowledge. This is a lean in knowledge acquisition environment. This is not a lean back where you're just reading a book for entertainment. Gone are those days. Now you need to be able to apply it. So read for praxis, not for entertainment. It can be entertaining, but if you're not applying it, you're probably missing out.
And when you do that, that brings you to the location of the corner of knowledge and application.
It's that intersection right there.
One of the biggest things you need is recognition. Recognition of where you are.
Recognition is so important because it's that moment when you realize that you've become, or at least you're on your way to becoming a master. You know, you can see the forest among the trees. You can see the entire chessboard. You can see the whole ecosystem of what you're doing. And unfortunately, it takes time to get to that point. You have to practice and you need to have consistency and repetition.
And repetition is the application of what you're doing. You're not waiting, you're applying it right away. And like Ruben said about the forest, that's perspective. You've gained perspective by having that recognition and learning, right? And applying what you're doing. And then once you have those two things, you have to have action. You have to take the action that you've learned from having the perspective and the recognition.
So think about this for a second. How many of us have been on a journey to try to find the secret ingredient, to try to find that one book, that silver bullet book that's going to teach us everything that we need to know? The reality is that it doesn't exist. And if it does exist, it's already inside of us. We just need to untap it or unlock it.
The secret ingredient is nothing.
It's within yourself. You know, we say all the time with Dubb, be authentic. Like when people make their videos to send them out for their prospecting, their nurturing, their follow-up, client communication, we are all about authenticity at Dubb. So when you're making those videos out there in the sales world to make those connections, be yourself.
The famous quote is, be yourself because everyone else is already taken. And I think what's amazing about the idea of authenticity is that when you're recording a video and you're expressing yourself in an honest way, you're making a connection. And here it is. All that I know is that I know nothing. This is a famous quote from Socrates. And the reason why I love this quote is because it shows us that the more you learn, the more you have to learn. You can never learn everything. The second that you attain one piece of knowledge, you need to go on the rabbit hole to understand more of that. Is by being humble, by being quiet, by listening, to be empathetic to people, you can actually learn in real time. So gaining knowledge and then being a good listener, being an empathetic leader that's actually open-minded to see what people are going through, and then trying to figure out solutions based on your knowledge, that's the ultimate cycle of knowledge.
And that's the ultimate sales cycle that you should be using.
Yes.
You should always think about that other person, because it all comes back to the listening and conversating, connecting, and then at the end of the day with sales, converting, right? But you can't do any of that on an effective level and grow if you don't have that.
So much of learning is listening. In sales, we know that. We have to listen to the problems that people are suffering from so that we can figure out ways to apply our knowledge to give them solutions. Now, one of our favorite success stories is Salman Khan of Khan Academy. And what Saul figured out, I had a chance to meet Saul in Mountain View at a park, and he was a super humble guy, really intelligent and down-to-earth guy. And here's what he has taught us, that information has become infinitely democratized. We have YouTube, and young learners have Khan Academy, which means all the information that we need is out there. It's become democratized. It's all accessible. The key here, though, is figuring out ways to apply it. Now, and what we've also learned is that video has become the most effective way to communicate and to teach, and frankly, to learn. In fact, when we learn through visuals and through video, our mind is processing that information 60,000 times faster, and we can retain up to 95% by using video. This is why when it comes to sales, we evangelize using video to the maximum extent possible. Text-based messages, they simply do not make an impact. Video is what connects. How about a sales video, Rob?
Oh man, I'm glad you asked. Okay. All right, so what I'm gonna do here is go to the Dubb app. Here we go. We're inside the Dubb app here, and here's an example of how you wanna send an authentic Dubb video out there to prospect. Here we go. This is Rob from Dubb. Video connection is so important. We are completely passionate about it here at Dubb. What you can do is hit the call to action button below, book a time in my calendar, or you can hit the reply with video function below and send me your thoughts right back. But either way, I look forward to connecting. That's how I would do it video.
So to cap this out, our favorite clip on authenticity is by our good friend Steve Harvey that shows how important it is to be true to yourself, because that's ultimately what breaks through. It's not about copying someone else. It's about being yourself.
When I first got on TV at NBC 7 years ago, they sent a linguist to see me. I didn't even know what that was. And I said, "Excuse me, ma'am, who are you?" She says, "I'm your grammar coach." I said, "For what?" She said, "NBC is of the understanding in order for you to be successful on daytime TV, you're gonna have to learn how to speak more eloquently." I said, "Which one of these sound best to you? I am broke or I'm is rich?"
Steve Harvey. The takeaway here is it's so important to be yourself. It's so important to be authentic. If you find yourself copying someone else, number one, it's not going to work. Number two, it's not going to feel good. And if it's not fun, it does not get done.
It is about the knowledge paradox. You're learning now, start applying it. You're in sales, you're in business. Learn, yes, keep learning, but start applying along the way so you can see the results. Seriously, and be yourself. And you know who is herself also? Lisa Simpson. She's going to play us out. Is she going to play us out?
She's going to play us out.
She's going to play us out.
She's
Lisa,
play us
Lisa,
out.
take it away.
Now, low B flat. Okay, Lisa. Altissimo register.
No.
Very nice, very nice.
If you're watching this video on YouTube, please consider subscribing to this channel and click the little notification bell and give us a big fat YES in the comments, because the YouTube algorithm loves it when we do that. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you guys. Can you just imagine when the writers realize that silk is kind of reflective?
Oh, unlock.
Like, wait a minute, let me get this straight. Yeah. Just make a silk scroll, and when he looks at it, he's going to see it's a mirror. I mean, how lucky did that person get?
What an unlock for writers everywhere.
Seriously,
they can just do that now.